Okay, so I am going to talk about the shaking episodes. And before I do, I just want to say every single thing that I'm about to tell you is not medical advice. It is literally just what I've learned about my own body dealing with these experiences. The second thing is I might have to split this into two videos because it is going to take a bit for me to walk you through this. Now, when I conceptualize my P.O.T.S episodes, I have learned that my triggers are the exact same ones that I had in childhood, just to a more significant degree. So my triggers for a P.O.T.S episode, when I have like the perfect storm of everything: dehydration, heat, like overheating, and fluorescent lights. If I have those three things, chances are I'm going to have a full-blown episode. When I was a kid, if I had one of those things, I would have very similar responses that I'm having now, just to a lesser extent. So if I was a kid and I went to the movies and I sat in like kind of towards the front, the really bright lights would make me nauseous. To this day, fluorescent lighting, number one thing to make me nauseous. When I was a kid, if I was dehydrated, I would feel really like kind of disoriented, like just like, I'm not really sure what's going on, like very floaty. Now I feel that to the extreme. It basically feels like I'm floating. I have difficulty having my eyes like track things. And it becomes really challenging for me to kind of stay here. The third, which is just the most like top of mind because we're in the middle of winter, is heat. So as a kid, the running joke in my family was I would wilt like a flower in heat. I do not tolerate heat well. What would happen as a kid is that I would basically just be exhausted. Yes, like summer heat is one thing, but it would happen more often than not in school when we would like pump heat into the school during winter. And to this day, when I am in spaces that pump heat and it's too stuffy, or if I'm wearing too many layers and my body can't find like a natural temperature, I tend to get extremely fatigued and to the point of like drowsy, but like unexplainably drowsy. So all of those triggers are the things that I keep in mind when I'm having an episode, because if I time my trigger, and if I know that it's happening and I'm able to actually just like de-escalate it in the moment, I'm not accumulating more triggers, which means I'm going to have a less intense episode. The more triggers that I accumulate and I combo with, the more intense the episode I'm going to have. So when it comes to shaking, basically I'm going to split this up into three phases and you let me know if this makes sense. Phase one, I am triggered by one thing. So saying I am in a room with fluorescent lights for more than 15 minutes and I'm not wearing a baseball cap. What happens to me is I will get an immense hunger cue, even if I've already eaten. My stomach will send this like voracious hunger cue, and then I know, and I've learned over time, that I basically have like 5 minutes to eat, and that's it. Now, in the 5 minutes that I am like trying to actively get food, again, I carry walnuts everywhere I go, so like I just need to get to them, but sometimes it's an inopportune time. If I don't get to them, what pretty much happens is my hand will go from here to here. And I just kind of like start like involuntarily shaking. That is literally why I'm constantly clutching something in my hand to stabilize, because I feel the weakness come on. And if I eat, this goes away. The longer I wait to eat, the more time it takes to go away. And what will happen then is I'll escalate to number two, which is shaking plus extreme tension in my muscles. Now, I've gotten really good about not having that happen. So chances are I'm probably just staying here if I'm triggered by one thing. If I'm triggered by two things and I do not neutralize them, okay? Or if I'm triggered by one thing to the extreme and I don't neutralize it, what happens is I shake, but I also get extreme weakness and muscle tension. And when I talk about like neutralizing your triggers, I have a ton of tips and tricks that have allowed me to regulate my body so I don't get triggered by my stuff. For instance, with fluorescence, I am never in a room anymore with fluorescence without a baseball cap. That's it. I carry one in my purse. Number two, in heat, I wear layers. So I know that I can take one thing off and regulate my body temperature. I will never keep my coat on inside because I truly, like, once I overheat, we're done. I keep electrolyte packs in my bag because if I am dehydrated, I need to be able to hydrate in a manner of time that allows me to keep everything neutral. But say that I haven't done that. So say that I have my fluorescence, I don't have a baseball cap, and I've been in a hot room. And this would happen a lot to me before I started noticing like what was going on with my body. What pretty much happens is that I have a window of time, basically like 24 hours, for me to calm my nervous system back down. And ideally what I would do is I would allow my body temperature to come back down to its normal rate. And I would probably like wear an eye mask when I went to bed at night to allow my eyes to like rest. But in the instance that I'm thinking of, I was at work one day and there was a ton of fluorescence and I overheated and I went straight out into the winter cold. And when I tell you, I was like, oh Lord, like we're not okay, I mean it. And what happens is the day after that, I pretty much have 24 hours to neutralize. But if I don't neutralize, I am going to have a more significant episode. So in this instance, the heat and the lights caused my body to become dehydrated because my body was stressing out for like the 4 hours that I was doing this. And then it's exhausted. So I'm dehydrated and I simply just didn't hydrate because I just wasn't paying attention. And the next day, what ends up happening is I get sensations of really, really, really fatigued, really weak. And then when I am weak, my heart rate goes like this. And in that sensation, everything in my body tenses, my hand starts shaking, but it's only just my hand. And then my heart rate is through the roof. Now, in the third phase of this is where we're in like, okay, we have done everything, just like everything has just gone badly for us. In these instances where I have stressed out my body on all fronts, simply because life happens, not intentionally, what I've noticed is that I pretty much have lost the window to be able to neutralize everything because my body is having this response like everything is wrong all at once. And this is where I have the crash. So all of my energy just dips. I become incredibly fatigued. I get a hunger cue. I pretty much will like eat during this to make sure I don't pass out. Then I have 15 minutes of like stabilization, which is really just like messes with you because you think you're fine. And then I skyrocket into a space of adrenaline. Now, I do not know if adrenaline is pumping in my body. It just feels like I have been like electrocuted with energy. Because what happens is after I stabilize, so after I've crashed and come here to like feeling okay, I basically feel this rush of energy come through me. My legs tense up like this. My hands are like basically incredibly rigid and it like almost hurts to move. And then my teeth start chattering. Once my teeth chatter, it's game over. I have uncontrollable shaking that moves at an incredibly rapid clip. So my teeth start chattering and then my arms start shaking. It moves down to my legs and it basically feels like waves are coursing through me. At that point, I am shaking to a degree that I understand what's going on, but the fear is that I'm going to have a seizure, which thankfully I have not, but that is a concern. So at this point, now I'm in the space of shaking, which I'm looking out for if it escalates. And if it does, which it has, it basically becomes really involuntary, jerky movements for me where I just like can't quite control what I'm doing. This will typically last for a while. And what I've learned in this space, the things that have helped me kind of calm it down have been A, taking small sips of water. I do not eat during this because I don't want to choke. B, box breathing. It helps me calm my nervous system. It's really hard to do, but it is beneficial to help slow down the waves and allow it to just course through my body. 3, I take my heart rate. I take my heart rate when it's plummeting. I take it when it's stable and I take it when it's up. It's really helpful if you have somebody in the room who can help you do this. That way you're in a space that it works. The fourth thing that I've done, that I have not done, but I would do, is I would film it. And I would film it because then you can bring it to your doctors and you can show what's going on.